All right. You want to do the introduction this time?
Yeah, I guess we start right. Man.
It's been a minute. We took a two-week break. So
Yeah, I'm doing proper introduction.
I know.
So what's going on, people? How y'all doing? Peace and blessings. How y'all doing? This is Paul Thompson.
And Paul Stevens.
And this is 2Pauls on the pod.
There we go.
Man. yes.
We just needed a break to get it together. That's all.
That's it. You got it. You got this, y'all. And listen, y'all, we've been working on this intro thing. So y'all just bear with us.
It'll get better as we go.
Definitely get better as we go. You know what I'm saying? But welcome today to the podcast. We have a great show for y'all today. A lot of information, some stuff. You know, basically we was just reminded of today.
Right.
So we're gonna start this off by saying, like, comment, and subscribe. And that we are not financial advisors or any type of certified CPA or anything. All this information that you receive, it's for educational and research purposes. Do your own research, people. Please do your own research.
And then also contact a CPA, financial advisor, financial planner. So that way, if there are any of these ideas that entertain you think would be applicable to your situation, your life, that way you have proper protections as well, even though still do your own research along with that.
Absolutely. So, this is the segment we call Savannah is Changing.
That's the slogan, anyway.
Yeah. Number one thing that's going on in Savannah this year is it is an election year. The time for us to get out here and make our voices known of what we want, because we have elected officials that want to be in office. So one of the things that we definitely going to always harp on and bring back to the podcast each and every week is, let's start doing our research on the candidates, the old ones, the new ones. Let's make a good judgment call and find us some leaders that's going to help push resident-friendly policies in the community, because Savannah's growing at a very, very rapid pace. There's a lot of money flowing into Savannah, and while it's growing, let's do some things that the residents in Savannah need, because there's a lot of people come from out of town. And hey, I'm not saying don't come on.
Right, but become a resident and actually put money back into the community.
Right.
I'm tired of seeing people come from South Carolina, North Carolina, buy property, rent it out. Yeah. That money doesn't come back to our community, it goes back to whatever community they from.
Right. So let's get some community-driven stuff. Some candidates that's community-driven. Some of the ones that's in the seat right now. So let's make sure that we, focus on who's going to help the residents of Savannah, black, white, everybody, because everybody's suffering a lot of the same issues.
A lot of people are going through a tough year this year, like money's not flowing in Savannah like it used to. Before you'd see prosperity, people going spending, going out to eat more regularly. It's just like you don't see that as often. You don't see, Walmart gonna be packed. But you don't see people like supporting small businesses like they used to. Small businesses used to be like the cornerstone of Savannah. You'd have your candy people in your hoods.
Oh man, don't talk about the candy lady.
Right, you have the candy lady in the hood, right?
Yeah.
You'd have the barbecue store. You'd have the haircut place or the barbershop. You'd have the beauty salon on the corner.
Right.
You'd have the local gas stations. Now, granted, they're gonna charge you, but you still have stuff in your community. Let's keep our money in our community in Savannah and the greater area.
But speaking of that, I'm wearing this shirt. I want to show it up just a little bit more, because this is a local brand, Goop, Big Dog Fee. You know what I mean? I do support my local brands and food places because I like to eat. I'm going to tell y'all that right now. So you're going to see me somewhere in a barbecue, a local barbecue. You might see me at Tricks. You might see me at Randy's. You might see me at No Sauce, Birds, Munchies. You might catch me meeting up with somebody, dropping off some food from somebody out from a Facebook post. Listen, I like to eat, and I'm gonna definitely shop in my community. I would rather have the home cooked food, the food that's prepared with love and care, than have some commercialized food. Like I'm just being honest. I will. So, like I told y'all, I believe it was on the first or second podcast that I went to 520 Wings, the one on Bull Street, for a burger and some fries, and I was waiting a little longer of some food. But one time I went there and I got a burger and fry. I believe it was about $10. And they were quicker than McDonald's. Life hack: if you don't want to wait in line, you can call and order your food before, let's say, 8 o'clock at night. Then drive up there, and that's definitely going to be quicker than going to McDonald's. There's a lot of ways we can support, the black businesses. I'm not just saying 520 Tavern. I mean, it's a lot of black businesses. You got Two Shelf, Gullah Geechee Kitchen. You got Sisters. You got Nairobi's. I mean, it's a lot of. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to name them all. You got Bill's Grill. Kenneth Light, Yellow Roach with Winging Up Savannah. But there's a lot of black-owned businesses, especially in the food industry, that we can support. And all it takes is, if you want a quick food, order it.
All right, you're going to go spend $30 for two people at Five Guys.
And that don't make no sense.
Or you could go to a smaller business that sells burgers and fries. Like, you might spend $20, whatever, for two people. But still, you supporting your community, and then that money is going to actually show. What does Five Guys do for Savannah? Nothing.
And instead of going to Five Guys, if you do want a more expensive, more gourmet type, or however you feel, burger, what's that burger joint right there it's right by the mall. It's not Five Guys. It's another one. It's orange. And I've eaten there a few times. Oh my goodness. Burger. Hey, look. Nah, check this out.
Right, we got Google boxes in our pocket all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, what's the name of this place?
While you look that up, but there's think about it like this. We want to be able to see, there's I won't say any names. There's a campaign slogan that someone keeps putting out that Savannah is changing. Think about Ghost Coast Distillery. You heard about that? SCAD bought that. It's going to turn that into a classroom.
Oh, they not just a classroom. They about to have some world class technology when it comes to the movie industry. I believe it's called X. It's some out of this world stuff. You ain't gonna need no more goggles going to SCAD for your VR and stuff like that. They got a whole room of TV screen. It's crazy, man.
Which I ain't saying that SCAD isn't a good school, because a lot of people in the new movie industry are coming from there,
Right.
But it's just what is SCAD doing for Savannah other than buying more stuff in Savannah?
Well, the issue with that is they have that 50, I believe.
They're 501c3.
They're 501c with a higher learning. See, this is the difference between nonprofit organizations. You have some. Excuse me, I just want to make sure I'm speaking clearly. You have some with a 501c certification, then you have some with a 501c higher learning institutional status, which means they kind of don't have to pay taxes. It's just something like they can buy stuff and get donated stuff, and I mean, it's good if it's for the community and for the place that they're in, but if they are just sucking the life out of a community, that's not good. I will say this though, in my time, I don't like that all that they did, but they did upgrade a few areas in the city where it was needed. I just wish they were more community driven.
Right. It's like there's some places that SCAD doesn't necessarily own, but like SCAD students or SCAD parents own, and it's only accessible to SCAD students. Like
Right.
that, it's like SCAD would not be able to exist without Savannah.
No.
So why wouldn't SCAD also support Savannah?
Right. So SCAD,
But if you want to bring a representative on to talk about it, because maybe SCAD just isn't doing enough community outreach that we know what y'all are doing for the community.
Right, and we would like to know those things. I mean, I'm pretty sure, and if y'all are reaching out to different non-profit organizations, let us know.
Right. But we definitely don't want to be like because I don't want to bash SCAD. I know a lot of people who like came to Savannah for SCAD and then became like upstanding citizens for the community. They start businesses and stay here.
And nonprofit organizations that are really community driven.
Right. So it's not like but the what's the word? Like SCAD as like its 501c3 status doesn't necessarily do much for the community.
Right.
Like they got a video game curriculum. Why wouldn't they invite like younger people in high school, middle school, right, to go test the games that their students are making, give them feedback on it, and like grow the industry here?
That would be outstanding if SCAD did that.
Right? You got movies. You got them shooting their movies for their graduation. They should be hiring people who want to be upstart and actors and actresses from the Savannah area. You got photographers, you got fashion designers, you have all these things here.
Because isn't Savannah High still a part of performing arts school?
Savannah High is not.
Oh, they took the
Savannah Arts Academy is.
So when I went to Savannah High, tell you how old I am, something like that. They had a magnet program, and it had I went to the one on Washington Avenue, matter of fact, the real East Side High, all my real East Side High Blue Jackets, y'all know what it is. So they had a whole magnet program where they had singing, I believe dance, because I was, like, I believe they might have had some acting or something in there. I'm thinking maybe possibly, but because I know they had like singing, music, and dance, that type of magnet program, I thought they might have would have had some acting in there in some ways, some Broadway music, at least some Broadway musical stuff.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. I know that was there. You know what I mean?
That's all Savannah Arts Academy now.
Okay.
Like Savannah High School, I think now, like, don't misquote me, because like I went to like my 10-year reunion last year, so we got to tour the campus. They've done some good stuff, but it's like automotive, welding, cosmetology, and then culinary arts are the four things that they like focus on at Savannah High. Now, granted, band program's always going to be the band program. We always going to have the baddest band in the land.
Always.
Don't come in the comments at me, because you know it's true.
Hey, listen, we got receipts. That's all I got to say about that.
Right? Shout out to my band. Because, as a section leader myself, I'm always going to represent my band no matter where I go and no matter how long it's been.
What did you play?
So I played quads. And then I
section.
played snare my senior year. So
Okay.
Got to represent for percussion section,
Yeah, my brother played the cymbals when he was in band at Savannah High. Yeah. So there was something else, but definitely, like I said, this is definitely an election year. Let's get out here, get some knowledge before we vote. We're gonna vote, right? But let's get some knowledge before we vote. It would definitely be great if we can get somebody from SCAD to come and talk to us, or we can do it via Zoom. It doesn't matter.
Right. Technology makes podcasting much easier than it used to be.
Absolutely, and come tell us about certain things that they may be at least thinking about in the community, if they are not already doing things in the community.
Right. Or hire a business like ours that does like give you ideas for your small business or a community outreach. There are plenty of like S2X Facts. Shout out to Miss Donna. Like, she does like the most community outreach that I've seen. Like, you got her, you've got shout out to Mahogany and Blessings in a Book Bag. Like, you know,
Okay, yeah.
they're out in the community doing stuff.
Right.
So it's just like SCAD doesn't have an excuse to not, right? They have all this money, all this buying power that comes from the parents, the tuition, the 501c3 status, right? The donations from alumni. Like they have all these things going for them. But we got two black women from, not necessarily from Savannah. I know Mahogany is, Miss Donna isn't, but like that live in Savannah and the Pula area, and they have more outreach than $1 million business, $1 billion business.
I mean, because they all over the world. They all over
Right,
the world.
they got a campus in San Antonio that I know about. They got one in Atlanta. They got one in Tokyo. There was one in Hong Kong. Like they got campuses everywhere.
In Europe and everything.
Right. So it's just like if you can outreach all those places and buy property and have places for your students to go, and then entice business owners to make things and give discounts to your students, why wouldn't you put that into the entire community?
I wonder what they are doing in those other places as far as outreach or how they're mingling with the natives and the places that they have in those other cities and countries. That would be interesting to know and understand as well. And if they are being more friendly, like why not be more friendly here?
Right.
If y'all are outreaching and helping out and reaching out into those sectors positively and helping people, even if it's feeding. I mean, it's a lot of hungry people around here.
Right. Think of Union Mission. Like, there's a lot of like SCAD students that live around that area, and it's just like there are tons of homeless people. Union Mission can't take care of all the homeless people in Savannah.
Right. Absolutely. Like they definitely need help. Which brings up another topic, talking about the Union Mission. I was kind of thinking about this actually earlier this week, having conversations about homelessness, and we're gonna go from homelessness into home ownership, right? So we're gonna try to do that, y'all.
They're gonna take a couple of like divergent paths, but we gonna get back. It's like when you go in the country and your GPS is like recalculating it, start taking you the wrong direction. But we'll get there.
We'll catch a North Star. We'll see the moss on the south side of the tree. I know that was wrong, but anyway, in homelessness is one thing to help the homeless population and to provide a way for them to get back to home ownership. But there are a lot of people out here right now, especially in this economy, that are 1 or 2 paychecks from being homeless with kids. They got bills. Like these are topics, and how I want to say that way. So we definitely need to look at, especially like I said, this is the election year. Like I said, y'all gonna hear that a lot when we're talking about Savannah, because there's, we need to definitely look at the candidates that's going to be for something affordable housing, and then what does that look like? Because affordable housing, as Savannah knows it now, or has known it in the past, let me say it like that, used to always look like a structure, a multi-family home structure or project, or Section 8 voucher where you may be able to lease out or rent a house, possibly, or an apartment. But I think following that path, that we have lost sight of what it means to have home ownership over temporary living spaces. Because I mean, I don't believe that the American dream was to live in an apartment building until you die. Because one thing about that apartment building is, unless you are able to buy your apartment or condo, you can't pass that down to your kids.
Right.
And
the other thing is you can't control how much you spend on it. Every time you go to renew that lease, they are going to increase it.
So just last couple of years through the pandemic, and just this last year, man, like a $500 a month apartment is now in 2-3 years is now $2,500, $1,800. Now the part of the problem with that is the living wages ain't changed. So what people are making per hour is not changing, but the housing market is.
Right, and it's like economically unfavorable to like have roommates when you have a spouse, kids, right? So like not being able to afford a house and work one job doesn't make sense.
Right. Now, I will say this, Savannah is getting to the place where honestly you gotta have more than one
Stream of
income coming in.
Like at this point, you can need 3 or 4.
Right, and let's not try to do all that with 9-to-5 jobs. There's a lot of side jobs, that you can legally do to make extra money, and we'll get into some of the things probably on another podcast. As we invite any entrepreneur who doesn't mind sharing some crafts or things that they learn
and sharing their journey, sharing things that they struggle with that maybe somebody could start a business doing.
Absolutely. There was a brief introduction, and we were talking about affordable housing and how just housing period, and how the housing market in Savannah. Listen, y'all, if it was up, if what I'm looking at is correct, my other housing markets may cool down. I don't see Savannah's housing market cooling down no time soon. Actually, I think it's going to get progressively worse. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because what that does is that can give you the mindset to say, hey, I need to get myself together so I can be in position. Because one thing about home ownership versus renting or leasing is when you own a home, you gain equity in your home, which is a wealth builder. So say, I know a lot of people still got houses that they grandparents or their parents bought back in the early 1900s or mid 1900s, 1950, 1960. I know some of those houses were $5,000 to $12,000. Promise you, I saw some receipts. Like, so think about the house. Just think about if you bought a house 6 years ago, you still got it at a really reasonable rate, and you put 60, 80 in it. Right? You bought a house for say 90. Right now, that house is probably worth 230 plus.
Right, and then
with no upgrade.
Right, and then that's it could be even further than that, depending on where it is.
Exactly. So,
because think about Pula, most of the stuff that's around Pula Parkway wasn't here 6-7 years ago. So you bought this house in Old Pula, because that's what they call it now around where the Chamber of Commerce is at.
Right.
You bought a house around there, $130,000. It's gonna be $400,000 now.
Easy. So see how. So when people talk about a question comes to my mind. I'm trying to say this right. I get bothered. I'm gonna say it like that when people say they'd rather rent over buying a home, because buying a home you have to pay for this and pay for that and pay for this and pay for that. And when things break, the responsibility is on you. Well, when I'm renting, I'm paying. This is my rebuttal most of the time, and I'm not saying renting is bad. I'm just saying I don't feel like renting should be forever.
Right, the end all be all.
Exactly. Neither leasing, unless you're leasing to own, which happens. I don't know many rent to own. I heard bad stories about rent to own. I'm not saying this right. I'm not saying this wrong. I just haven't heard anything good about it. Maybe there can be some company or program that I can hear some good stories about the rent to own process.
Right. If you know someone who does have a rent to own process, or you've been through it and it was beneficial for you, then come on the podcast because we need to talk about that.
Right. So, and yes, it's needed because I just don't know.
You were saying that it's not like
I got it.
okay.
So when you're doing that and you're leasing and you're renting, unless you're in a rent to own or lease to own situation, you do not gain that extra, let's say from 130 to 420, and that's really reasonable. Really reasonable. And that's what a little over 300 times. You don't get that extra 200 times, that extra 200 and something $1,000 that you can go out and say, hey, I want to take a loan out, $100,000 off of that extra too. So I'm always going to push for home ownership as your end goal. And please, y'all, we got to do a better job, especially us residents of Savannah. Let's do a better job of paying our taxes on these homes. Let's do a better job of not having these homes tied up as heirs property. Let's do a better job of keeping up the exterior and the structure of the home. And this is the reason why I say this. Because people are coming in, like we stated before, coming into Savannah, and they're telling on you, snitching on you. And especially when you have code problems or tax problems, and they're pointing it out all the time so that they can come in and pay a very low fee for the place you stay. And when they pay that fee, they may contact you directly, but they only have to do it a certain way as an announcement that, hey, I paid this fee on this house. In Savannah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they do tax deeds, which means once they sell it, it's theirs.
No. So
after the year and the day is theirs.
Yes.
After the year and the day is theirs. Now there's a process called, and we'll get into this a little later, another time, tax lien. And with the tax lien, you actually get a chance to buy back or pay the amount they paid plus interest. But with the tax deed, it's not the same. That's their deed after the year and a day if you don't pay them in that year and a day's time. The money or interest or whatever they agree is a fair amount for you to get your listen to this, get your property back in your possession. So please, let's do a better job of keeping up with these jars. If you know somebody or somebody in your family, especially elderly people that need some work on the outside of their house, please listen, y'all, as a family. I'm gonna use a biblical word, beseech you to y'all band together, because they coming in and buying these houses for $20, $10, $15, $30,000 and turn around and putting in maybe $60,000, $70,000 and turn around and selling it for $200 plus.
Right. I'll give you a story. So I won't say who, but there's a person I know that used to be an assistant to a real estate attorney. In Georgetown, there was a house that grass was 2 foot, 3 foot, way out of Georgetown's code, right? Lawn mowing company comes, cuts the grass, sends the bill to the city instead of the person who lives in the house. Now they got a mechanic's lien on the house for $400. If you don't pay that lien within $400, the city can take it from you and give it to the mechanic. For as little as $400, you lost your house.
So please, y'all, please, especially if you have a family house in a nice area, especially one like West Savannah, the Midtown area, I call East Side, because that's where I grew up at, the Waters Avenue, which they now call Arsley Park area. I remember Arsley Park was across Victory Drive when I grew up. Now they're in the span area all the way, I believe, almost to almost to Wheaton Street or something like that. And so it's just driving the housing prices up. And if you do want to sell your house and you feel like, you know what, I just can't do this. We talked about this before. You could take out a home equity line of credit.
Yep, home equity line of credit.
Fix up your house and then sell it yourself.
Yep.
Get a trustworthy contractor and fix it up and such and stuff. That way, at least you can have something to live off of. Because $10, $15, $20,000, I mean, that's trip. I mean, for a lot of people that's spending that money, that's trip money for them.
Right. And it's a lot of people who would rather go on a trip and experience something than they would to take care of their own stuff.
Right. And with that extra $100 and something $1,000, you can, hope if you don't want a big house, you get something small. Hopefully, you can be able to pay for it. Mobile home, get your piece of land, mobile home.
Right, tiny houses are real popular. Don't cost much more than $120 to build and to get connected to the electricity and water.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options, but let's stop us as residents stop selling the hood, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Let's do better by keeping our streets clean because we live in these streets. And I would tell you, they coming. I mean, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and right now it's not predominantly black. Nope. And they don't care if it's trash on the ground. They like the area, and they coming.
And they'll come clean the trash up.
Yeah, and they don't mind.
For them, right? Mm-hmm.
And they don't mind. So we shouldn't mind either. This is our place.
Right.
This is where we grew up at. We played in these streets all our life. We could do a better job, and there are some nonprofit organizations that would not mind coming to different communities and helping with the cleanups as well. But I really want to hit home with this. Let's really start taking value in the things that are ours now because other people looking at it with a higher value than we looking at it. Mm-hmm. Savannah is our home, it's our city. A lot of people have been looking at Savannah for a very long time. It's a very, very nice space, and they coming.
Right, this Bankhead and Buckhead in the 90s. Everybody was talking about how bad Bankhead was. It's the
Buckhead. Buckhead was the area I was talking about.
Right, okay.
Buckhead, I do believe on the first podcast, there was a predominantly black area, and now you can't even get in Buckhead without 400,000. I don't know what it is now, but I know back in 2019. Well, I'm gonna say back up some more. About 2017, it was 400,000 or better to get out of Buckhead. No, it's more than that now.
Of course, there's more industry stuff in Atlanta than there was back then. And that's saying 10 years ago.
Right. So East Savannah, man, y'all pay attention to y'all property too. Because y'all know it's a lot of construction going down. President Avenue, y'all right there in close district to downtown. Yeah, please, if you, like I said, if your family owns the house, or if you own the house, let's do a service to our family members and just the family itself about taking better care of our properties. And if we don't want to deal with them, I mean, let's do something with it and then get something of value for it so we can move to something better instead of just moving out and then now you're in an apartment. You ain't gonna really like it. It's an adjustment. But speaking of apartments and rentals, do you know when it has why it's being pushed so hard? And I don't know either. So I really feel like it's being pushed really, really hard for apartment living, and it is somewhat convenient. But like I said, at the end of the day, when did that start being pushed?
So we talked about it, and shout out to Housing Atlanta because we had the meeting this morning that we went to. I can't even remember what it was called. What was it?
It was brainstorming because change has to come. You know what I'm saying? We got to get policies and things in order.
So basically, the group that I was in was focusing on home buyer education, and then keeping them in first time home buyer program. And basically, you got the Gary Vanderchucks, you've got what's his name, the little guy. I can't remember. I don't want to call people out either because they got big brands or whatever. It's we low brand right now, so we ain't got time for no hate. But their whole thing is when they get on these platforms, they'd be like, oh, well, you know, what happens when your AC breaks? If it's a condenser, you might pay $10,000. You might have to replace the whole AC unit. You're paying a mortgage, so can you afford $10,000? What happens when the subflooring on your base floor comes through? Now you got to pull up the regular flooring. You got to check the base flooring. You got to check the foundation, make sure it's good. You got to get an architect to make sure if they gonna change out the paper, right? If they gonna change out the wood flooring for a metal beam or whatever they gonna do with the subflooring, right? That's gonna cost you money. If your appliances go out inside your house, that's gonna cost you money, right? It's like, and so it seems like there's an agenda in the finance influencer sphere where it's just like rent forever and then buy in cash. It's just like, but the way that inflation has been affecting renting rates, like it's not possible to try to save money to buy. Right. You got to take advantage of these first-time buyer programs. You have to take it, like the Georgia Dream homeowners program. You need to take advantage of it. Navy Federal, if you got it, they got a 0% down.
I was just about to say, if you have an account in a federal credit union or a credit union, they should have home buyer program. Matter of fact, since I'm not a homeowner just yet, I see it in my future. You know what I'm saying? It's tangent. I see it, but you know, why not use the resources that's in front of me right now? So I'm with self-help credit union, and I believe they was offering me at the time, I'm pretty sure it's still available because they were doing it because the housing market was going crazy. 12,500 after I finished out certain things, but I was working on my credit too, so that's why I didn't do it right away. But now my credit's at a better place. Thanks for some advice, Paul. Hey, y'all don't know. You can't sit by a financial advisor and don't get financial advice. Yes, I get tips from Paul, the advisor himself. Definitely do. But now my credit's at a better space, and my income's at a better space too. Now, those programs, you know, I feel more comfortable doing that. But what I should have did, and I know what I did, me waiting, I know that's probably what a lot of people do. We want to wait till we get in the right time, right place to get started. And for a lot of people, that could be that's the hindrance. It hinders me a lot in different things, which is why I reach out to Paul for information and stuff like that. Because you know you want to have somebody that you can bounce ideas and stuff off of that's going to be solid and knowledgeable. But also, you know, what if they could have connected me with somebody who could have helped me to get to that point, right? And it don't take long. So yes, you know, let's get out of, we got to do it, figure it all out by ourselves. And you know, because there's a lot of help. It's help out here, and there's more help coming.
Another thing is, like, people are so worried about the money aspect. There's a lot of these first-time home buyers program. If you make more than $50,000, you can't even apply for them. So people are like, oh, I gotta wait till I get this new job. I gotta wait till my credit gets right. There are some of these programs that will take you all the way down from a 540. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that is, like, when you're in a bad spot, like, yes, buying a house isn't appropriate for someone who can't afford maintenance. They got warranty companies. You spend $100 a month. If anything in your house breaks, they will pay for it. They got insurance companies that will insure, like, the main aspects of your house, like the subflooring, the foundation. They will make sure that if something happens to it, they will help you out as long as you can pay your deductible. Which, surprise, surprise, with an insurance, with most insurance products, you set your deductible. So if you know you don't have $1,000 in your savings account, don't set your deductible to $1,000.
And then, you know, but I think it's like, you know, there's some people don't fully understand the home buying process, right? Too, because you know, one of the key things that you need to get is a home inspection. and you if the realtor, if the seller has one, wants to give you an inspector, that'd be cool. Go out and get your own too, because seller wants to sell a product. All people that want to sell a product,
and think about
may
it like
look over
this,
things from time to time.
right? If you are looking for a career that is going to pay you and pay you dividends, go get your inspector's license. When I tell you there are not enough inspectors in Savannah, where a large majority of the time that is going to be the holdup on why you can't get a house in 30 days. You need someone to be able to inspect a house. We need appraisers. Go out. We need our appraisers. It doesn't make sense that if you got to rely on the bank to find you or whoever you're getting a loan through to find your appraiser, because they're going to pick who they want. Right. And that's not always the best for you. Case in point, when Bank of America was doing the sketchy stuff, where if an appraiser went inside a house and saw black people stuff, they would appraise the house for $50,000 less than what it was worth. Now you can't even get the house because of redlining. Because most mortgage companies, Bank of America is one of those main proprietors, and Wells Fargo did too. If the house comes under 80% of how much you're trying to finance it for, they will not write the mortgage for it. Will not. So now you got to go back to the seller and ask the seller, will they drop it down? Will you drop the price down for me because their appraisal didn't come up? And they don't have to, especially not in this market. Especially not in this market. Because if you got picked, it's because something in your profile is the reason they liked you. Because most of the time, so it's like I bought and sold a house in Texas. So it's like I've been through the process already.
Right.
When I bought my house, the reason the person picked me, because I wasn't even the highest bidder, is because I was using my VA loan. Because they saw that a veteran is trying to buy this house, and I put in, I think, the second lowest offer because that's all I could afford. Because I could definitely afford more, but it's like I wasn't going to overextend myself based on what my pre-approval was.
Right.
Which that's another topic, which is going to be next podcast.
Okay.
But I knew how much I could spend reasonably. I wanted to spend $1,800 a month on my mortgage. I didn't want to spend no more, and that was including insurance and property taxes. So when he selected mine, they said, "Hey, like you weren't the top bidder, but because you used your VA program, the buyer gave it to you." So there's some people who are in the same situation as you as sellers, and they will see your situation depending on like how your real estate agent talks to them, how your bank talks to them. That's why having a local real estate agent and have a local bank matter. They are advocates for you at that point, right? And so now when I was a seller, I get 7 offers on my house. The lady's getting, the one I picked, she was getting a divorce. She was needing somewhere to stay immediately. Had 3 kids, the only thing she needed was a house. She had a job, right? She used the FHA loan and she used down payment assistance.
Okay.
It's like she definitely wasn't the highest bidder.
Right.
But if I can help somebody out and and it's the space that they're in that they can get in at, why would you not do that?
Right.
Because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, this cash buyer could have closed in 15 days. I didn't close for 75 days. That's a long time. I was still paying the mortgage on it, but I was able to help someone out at the same time.
You were blessed with a good seller, and you were a good steward in being a good seller as well. In these markets, though, you got a lot of people who look at the dollars.
Right. And I understand that, like the dollars speak, right? But at the same time, when I say this for a lot of individuals, not even just black people, a lot of people in the lower income spaces in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you bought a house for $11,000 because someone let you do that.
Yeah.
They could have sold that house for a lot more than they did, and they didn't. So now when it's time for you to sell, I understand, at least get the market average for your house. When people come saying, I'm going to pay cash 150% above, that is not who you want in your community.
Right. Right. Actually, I do know 2 people that own a couple of properties in Savannah. And they used to, I don't know if they still do, but it used to, 3-bedroom house last year, $700. Like, you're not getting a 3-bedroom, 2 bedroom, unless you're in somewhere, certain areas, you're not getting a 3-bedroom house for no $700-800.
No.
You're not, like, they was very reasonable rental rates, but the problem was the renters.
Yes, people don't appreciate things when they don't pay an adequate amount for it. I understand that.
Because I was real shit considering, like, hey,
kick them out. Let me go.
No, they was getting rid of them. They had to complain, dealt with them for so long already. Mm-hmm. I even went by not to, put my name in the hat, because I actually didn't even go back and try to figure out if I could rent at a reasonable rate, or just rent this place anyway, just to support, just keep the money in my community.
Right.
But with their experiences with their renters, that was more was throwing them off than to try to do that again than anything, because and they said they've been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. They'll get one, and then 4 or 5 bad ones, and they hope they keep the one, but they grow, and you understand when people grow, mm-hmm. and they did what they were supposed to do. That was affordable housing, just on the community level. And I will say this too, before I go any further, like, affordable housing does not have to come from a nonprofit organization.
Correct.
It can come at a community level. If you own several properties and you know somebody that's working to do the right thing and trying to provide for their family, or just themselves, or trying to get ahead, you don't have to rent out your personal property to somebody for a fair market value. That's on you.
Right.
Every single contract is written and agreed upon, and both parties have to agree upon them. So, I'm not saying everybody should start renting your houses cheap. No. Mm-hmm. But if you are in position and you can help somebody, I'm again, the Bible word, beseech you, to, let's start establishing some neighborhood, community, affordable housing, because let's just be honest, with the affordable housing crisis that we have now, it's going to take a large effort, and it's being chipped away at, mm-hmm. but it's still going to take a lot of effort and time to get those things in place. And even when they do, like, just waiting lists. So if you can help, it's a lot of other things that come with that. Different programs people have to go through. If you want to say, hey, look, I rent you this house at a reasonable rate, but I want you to go through certain type of programs, and put that in there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You can put technically whatever you want inside of a lease, as long as both parties agree upon it and that it's written legally. Hey, if I were to buy a set of houses at this point, I'd be like, hey, I want you to go through the first-time home buyer program during this lease. I ain't got to buy a house because, I don't know where you're at. But at least one, now you know what it takes to own a house, and you will treat it better than you would if you didn't. Because a lot of people just don't care because it's not theirs.
Yes. And that's, another thing we've seen with the way of affordable housing has been done, is because we stacking people on top of people, for one. And then, they're not keeping up with the properties. But Yamacross and such, a lot of this. Hey, listen, man. How can a city? I don't understand how. Probably understand how that place can be in the condition that it's in. When it's federally or government funded to be taken care of. Caton Homes, Fraser Homes, all the projects in Savannah. Mm-hmm. Before they had to rebuild Fairwood because it was in such bad condition. Mm-hmm. Then when it got rebuilt under affordable housing. But get this, y'all. See, there's something else we need to understand about, the way that affordable housing has been done in Savannah is the Sustainable Fairwood, the builder who owns that property, that's not a city-owned property. The builder built that. It's an investor that owns that. They have a team. When they got the money and the rights to do that over and take over that property, they got a 10-year. They gave a 10-year guarantee to keep it affordable. I believe it's the same thing with builders on President Street. If it's not the same,
Savannah Gardens is exactly the same.
10 years, y'all. How long has it been already?
It's pretty close.
So,
pretty close.
Not saying that they will.
No, I'm saying they will.
But we know at some point they will.
Right? You have SCAD students that go to school like in the downtown area. Savannah Gardens is a bike ride away from downtown. Maybe it might take you 20, 30 minutes, but still.
I mean, but they like to ride bikes.
Right.
And they do. Then we got all these electric bikes in the city and scooters. Shout out to every black business owner who is started or got involved in the scooter and electric bike rental business. Shout out to y'all.
And we need more of them because there are a lot of places downtown that don't have them.
Listen, if y'all, I thought I saw that business and I haven't invested in it, but I think that's a pretty good model of business to have. I mean, the bikes have GPS on them.
Mm-hmm.
They go dead.
You can turn them off.
You can turn them on, turn them off. Away. Yeah. You know, if you figure out the device the device is in an area that you feel like is unsafe. I mean, it's other ways to get it, and you go get it yourself.
Right. There are repo companies that you can pay to go get stuff.
Oh wow. Hey, so listen.
There's always a way to do.
Telling y'all, Savannah changing, man. We just trying to give y'all a lot of information that y'all can look at and look into to take and be a part. I mean, because it's gonna happen.
Right.
Whether gonna happen,
whether you get on the train or not, the train is going to disembark from the station.
It's gone. We are here, and you're already on this journey.
Right. You can't be standing on the tracks after the train done going, waving, saying, "Hey, here I am. Come back for me," because the train is not going to stop. Just like anyone who didn't buy a house in the 70s for that $11,000 to $50,000 range, you is not getting a house for that unless it is extremely dilapidated, and that's a whole bunch of work you got to do, and the city will probably be like, you can't even live in it.
Right. And so another thing as far as affordable housing, it's not so much affordable housing, but let's talk about some of these businesses that come into our communities. Before a business comes in the community, they have to put up signage that says that they are applying for a business license and bringing a business into a certain place. Now, why is that important? Because when they go to those meetings, the people in those neighborhoods should go to those meetings. Figure out, first of all, who's going to own the business if they choose to show up. Because a lot of times, sometimes they should use lawyers or business managers, so forth and so on. But also, then you can start having a conversation with them and building a relationship with them before they come in our community. I don't have a problem with, any race of people coming in, predominantly black communities and opening up businesses. Not at all, because money is going to spend. I just wish we could go in y'all communities and do the same thing.
Right, because y'all, and the same thing we're advocating for. Make sure you know who is coming into your community. You best believe if you go on 56 in Habersham, they're going to know who you are when you show up trying to open a business.
Oh, absolutely. So, and then with that, let's see how they can benefit our communities. Because there is a thing called a community beneficial agreement that you can bargain for or, what's the good word? Negotiate.
I would say strong arm. Right, essentially, right? Like you're trying to make a business, make a deal with you to benefit your community.
Right.
You need to strong arm them into doing so because most business owners are in it for the
themselves. themselves
Right.
and their families. So we need to start doing these things. So that's why we have been saying, so the Metropolitan Planning Commission, it's the MPC, I believe it's on State Street. I can't remember the exact address. Their meetings, I believe, are Tuesdays or Thursdays, 10 or 11 o'clock in the mornings. So when they start having these meetings, we need to start showing up. We need to start voicing our opinion. Even if you can't make it in person, you can call over the phone.
Or find, which maybe this is a good business idea, get someone to advocate for you. You can find someone who speaks very well, that understands how to talk to people about getting certain things included in business deals.
Right.
So now it's like you pay an advocate to go there. They know how to speak. They know what to say. They know how to say it. Of course, you're going to get more stuff done than if you just send everybody from the hood and they be like, I don't like this shit.
But again, let's not just get involved in politics, but let's also get involved in our neighborhood association committees and meetings and things like that. Be very involved in your neighborhood. I'm telling y'all, listen, it's imperative that we do these things, that we get involved in our neighborhood. We got to figure out who coming in. Don't necessarily, if a business about to leave, hey, you might have an idea where you can put something into that space instead of letting somebody else come in. It's all about, being in the know.
Right. You can push, like if there's, say, what's an example? What is that? 37th and not Paulson, not Harmon. The one before that. There's that old candy shop that's now a karate building, something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
If somebody, when that were to first open, which I'm not calling them out or not, and I don't know if they're a good business or not, I've never been there.
Right.
But it's just like, when that candy shop had closed, if somebody who lived in that area had a better design for it than a karate space or, a dojo or whatever, you can advocate for that towards the people in your neighborhood and they can help you get the spot too.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of ways that, we can take part in this change that Savannah is going through, and the growth, not necessarily saying change, is growth. Definitely got to value where we're at, definitely got to start valuing where we're at for ourselves. See it just like everybody else sees it.
Mm-hmm. There's a saying I heard, it's like you want to leave everything better than the way you found it, and you want your community to be better for your children, for their children. Because the way it's going, by the time our children have children, there won't be a community where we are from.
Right.
There'll be renters or whatever, not necessarily renters, but like people who buy houses in the hood just to rent it, and then they might sell it to you once you done messed it up. And then what?
Now you got to put more money into the house than you originally would have in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And then most of the time, the people who come in the hood and buy houses either own a construction like a construction company, so that way they don't have to pay as much for labor. They own like a lumber yard or somewhere where they can get materials for cheap, and they just got to pay somebody, or they got a whole bunch of money, and then it don't matter.
Absolutely. So there are also different ways to So one way I know particularly that affordable housing is coming to Savannah is through the Savannah Community Land Trust. We will be giving out more information. We'll actually drop the link right here to the website to learn about what a land trust is about, and we'll see if we can get the CEO to come on here with us to talk to us about what a land trust is and how it can be beneficial for not only us, our generation, but for generations to come, and how I can keep our communities, our communities.
And how y'all can get involved with, because like people in the community need to also get involved in nonprofits that are for the community.
Yes. And if a nonprofit is saying they're in your community and they're not doing no work,
get them out of your community.
Yes. Do not let people, because they're getting grant money. grant money to do everything that they say that they're supposed to be doing. If they're not doing it, and they need to be held accountable.
So we're talking about housing. So when you mentioned that like housing is one of the biggest ways to grow equity, a lot of people make this mistake. They're like, oh, well, the financial like gurus and stuff tell me to invest in stocks, invest in, I don't want to say Forex because we're going to get hate in the comments. So
you can't
mention
really
Forex.
Invest
you
in
don't
Forex.
Right.
It's a skill set. It's a skill set.
It's a whole conversation that I've had multiple times that I'm not even willing to entertain Forex. It's just like, you know what I mean.
But we won't go there today. We definitely won't go there today.
we'll get that when I'm willing to talk about it further.
I mean,
but you get what I'm saying.
But you got to remember, that's how I really got into finance. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's really, just like I'm perfectly fine. I have nothing against Forex. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's just like the way
it's a dirty word right now.
Right. The way that it is taught. The way that it is taught is like, oh, you're investing in a different foreign exchanges cash, right? You hold it until the price goes up. It's like cash is not a stock. It is not, right? It is not an investment. It is just cash. You are investing, you are holding cash in a different market
to go up or down, though.
Right, speculating that it's going to go up or down. I can hold a stock forever as long as the business doesn't go out of business, right? Now if I'm investing into CAD, which I'm getting on a tangent, so this is probably going to get cut off. But
no, I'm going to let this go. I got something to say.
Right? But it's like cash, it's like you cannot trade a stock to buy something. Typically.
No.
It's possible, but it's like one of those conversations I don't like having because it's a tax thing. Talk to a CPA about it.
Right.
But if I have cryptocurrency or a foreign exchanges cash, I can exchange that for a good. Anything you can exchange for a good is not an investment. It is not.
So Forex is not so much an investment. It is a skill set. Mm-hmm. And this is what I was trying, because I know, and it gets a dirty word. It's a dirty word because people create, have, and some are good. Like I said, I've learned from one. Mm-hmm. So the one I've learned from was I Am Academy. And actually, there's a guy named Said that I've grown a great relationship with. We and him still talk to this day. We still share ideas. It's up to this day. You know, it's been like 2 years back and forth in and out of it. And it's just a skill set to learn how to read charts so you can buy high, sell low, buy low, sell high in minutes, days, or weeks. It's not something that you necessarily hold like stocks over long periods of time. However, if you can understand the skill set, and understand the weigh-ins, moves, and sways of the currency fluctuations, if you can kind of understand the currency fluctuation, you can make a lot of money in Forex.
Right.
But the problem is so many companies have created multi-level marketing or MLMs, and the teams, because I went through some of this is why I don't like MLMs. I'm not saying they're all bad, but
they're all bad. I'm jumping on this shit. They're all bad.
All right. So, but for me, like I like I Am Academy because it's unlike most multi-level marketing companies. Because most multi-level marketing companies, they have a product that they want you to go out and tell people to sell, or you have to build a team to start making income. But with I Am Academy and the trading, I say trading instead of Forex, but it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like going to school,
right? And that's the
difference for me. But there is a part of it where you can become the IBO and you can have an upline, downline, make the money. And I don't necessarily get into that part because of some bad experiences, not just with I Am Academy, but though there are good people in there and there's some good teams. That was just an experience. But from other things that I have been other multi-level marketing companies that I've been introduced to that I won't name. But one was Team All In, because I'm gonna name that because it's no longer in existence anymore. great plan. I was in good position in that company too to actually make the money. But something happened. It just fell off. I kind of got out of it before it went too far anyway. Just out of it, just me not feeling the proper, feeling comfortable with, I had never seen anything unethical. I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And, it's important that if you're going to get into one of those things, that your leadership, and if you're going to do anything, make sure your leadership is good and it fits your style. If people don't fit your style of leadership, it's not necessarily something wrong with you or them. It's just, you're unique. Right. You need some unique stuff.
Think about the world as a puzzle, right? Each person is a puzzle piece.
Right.
Some puzzle pieces will fit, but they're not the right piece to go there.
Right.
You can get a job or you can find like these leadership people that you're cool with or whatever, but they just don't fit your style. That's not where your piece goes. Right. You need to find the spot where your piece goes, or occasionally you have those like super difficult puzzles, right? 17,000 pieces or whatever. It might be a piece that fits in multiple spots. But when you put end piece, you can't have no other end piece right here.
Nah, you're gonna close the puzzle off before you get a chance to fill it out.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's just like, that's why I call out MLMs, and most of the time, like Forex trader is usually the title of most MLMs. It's like the whole thing is, instead of teaching you what to do, they teach you to sell what to do.
Right. And that's why I said I like I Am Academy, because they actually have real classes and teach you how to actually learn the skill set. Where actually, like, you don't even need the team. You got the product of the classes and the teachers that's on the platform. You don't need nobody outside of that. That's why I like it, because, like I said, it's a skill set. It's like going to school, like learning how to do math all over again, or art. Make it an art form. You know what I mean? Not telling anybody to get into Forex. Not. But if you do and want to go to I Am Academy, holla at your boy.
Affiliate link somewhere you can put down.
Holla at your boy. Drop your name and to say I want to know a little bit about more about I Am Academy, and I'll reach out to you. I promise you.
But now that we're done with being sidetracked with Forex. Right, there's this misnomer in like the financial influencer like realm, right? That you need to invest to build equity, to grow your net worth. It's like, but building a business or home ownership are the two fastest ways to grow your net worth. Why? Because a business can take off overnight. Now, granted, normally, like with that comes growth pains. You don't want that. You want a business to like grow. Like each month, you want to have just a little bit of growth. It's like being a child. When you were real small, like you grew fast, it hurt. It's like, and then as you you grew a little bit more and a little bit more. It's like you want to have that slow growth, so that way you can build your plans and processes out thoroughly.
Right.
Right. Because if you have an overnight sensation. Right. How, like, say the podcast blew up overnight. How are we going to follow up with any of the people that watch the podcast? Right? It's like eventually we'll have to make an email list so that way we can inform people as soon as the podcast comes out, right?
Right.
Then, like, we don't have any, like, products, like T-shirts or whatever, right?
Not yet.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, though. So now it's like, it grows out of proportion, and like you have nothing to support yourself with.
Man, a logo just popped in my head. I got us. Hey y'all, 2Pauls of logo coming out real soon. Y'all watch it.
Right, so it's just like the stock market is not a place to grow wealth. It is a place to diversify wealth.
But with dividend stocks that will pay you.
That's a tax thing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't disagree with dividend stocks. Yeah. I don't. But there's a trend that would show, like, right, because the way dividends work is they're taking money out of the business to then pay the stockholders. Well, when the stock price that day that they pull the money out, it drops. Because it's still the same amount of money in the business. You don't have it anymore because now you're paying it. Now, if the people reinvest back into the stock, then the price will go back where it was. But if they don't, it stays. Now, if you got stocks that are paying too much in dividends, every time the price drops. You might get more stocks when you reinvest.
There's a lot of companies.
There are a lot of them like Coca-Cola, Pepsi. They stay
consistent.
Right, that's a dividend king and dividend aristocrat conversation, which we'll have that on the line. That'll be a finance one. But you know what I mean, though.
I wouldn't put all my eggs
in one basket.
Oh, definitely not in stocks. Right. No, that never works.
But it's like what I'm saying is, because it's like the financial industry for like influencers have really been pushing like rent for as long as you can, because then you have no liabilities. Spend all your money into stocks and investments. It's like, no, build a business, buy a house. These two things have equity.
And then these two things also you can get assistance with doing.
Yes.
Like there's OPM.
Other people's money.
Right. So
you can't use other people's money to buy stocks.
No.
You shouldn't. I guess you can. You can take a loan out, but it's stupid.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that unless you just got some real good information from a real good source. A real good source.
That's insider trading. Now you're going to prison. So, now you're going to prison and you owe somebody money. That's even worse.
There's people out there with some good percentages,
Right, there's some
60% ain't bad. That's actually pretty good to make money in trading.
There are people who are very lucky. But typically, you just invest in something that you believe is going to be there for the long haul, and it will increase.
So just to clarify something, I do not believe in short-term investing when you're talking about stocks or anything. I believe in long hauls. Mm-hmm. I have some crypto. I have some stocks, and it's going to sit.
Eventually, we'll talk about how my investment philosophy, because in some situations it makes sense to get out of a trade early, but that's a tax advantage thing.
Right.
So it's like when we have a podcast about taxes, we will go deep into that.
Okay.
There's a very long conversation we can have.
All right. We might, Paul the advisor, give Paul the advisor, before
we find a second co-host.
And
then just have interview me.
Right. Got you. We can do that. I can interview you. You gotta have nobody else.
No, you gotta have.
No, exactly.
Right, we spend so much time together. You might not have. There's some questions that someone like just meeting me or don't know my business would have to ask.
So on that point, anybody that comes on the show, make sure y'all come with some questions for Paul the advisor, financial and business questions. Mm-hmm. And on that note, anybody want to come on the show, we advocating for all people that's running for any type of city seat this year or council seat next year. Mm-hmm. Y'all reach out to us. If you know them and are watching this, tell them, hey, there's some people, it's 2Pauls on the pod, and they got the voice of the people, and the people want to know about you and who you are, and so come on, 2Pauls on the pod to let the people know who you are, mm-hmm. and what you stand for, mm-hmm. and how you're going to help Savannah become better. We advocate for, we ask that any business owners,
preferably small to medium-sized businesses where the owner lives in the greater Savannah area.
Absolutely. Or,
if you're a part of a large business, I would say we would want managers of who control hiring, right? Hiring or personnel would come on the podcast, because then we could talk about Walmart. Why aren't there many long-term positions?
Well, actually, I know a guy, and I'm gonna call his name. His name is Simone Hicks. He's a brother that I know. He actually has 2 podcasts. He has a Facebook group called The Book of Men. So y'all check in on that. It's a lot of great information, and it's a support group, because, there's not a lot of support groups out there for us men. Mm-hmm. And we go through a lot of stress. We got a lot of stuff on our shoulders, mm-hmm. and we need help. We need support. We're some of the most closed in, emotional people out there. I like to say I'm emotional intelligent myself, but it's great to have a group of people that you can go reach out to. But he actually I believe he just got his doctorate, and he just had to write a paper. He's about to get. Hopefully, I'm not spilling no beans. No, you already said it.
If not,
his books. He has a book coming out, and it talks about his journey through warehouse work and as a manager, and seeing the people that work in the warehouse, and seeing some people the same type of people come in, and different same type of mentalities. So I believe we get Brother Simone.
Right. We'll get on here, and then we'll trade out. We'll go on his podcast if he comes to ours.
Oh, absolutely. I've been on there a few times.
Okay.
Yes. Him and the Lion, especially on Thursday night. I believe it's the Book of Man, where they do book studies, and then on Saturday, him and the Lion as well. They have a podcast to talk about different things, current events and stuff like that as well.
It's something we got to reach out to.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Because all the podcasts in Savannah need to eventually meet up, trade podcasts. Man,
that's gonna be crazy.
Right. It's that's an event we got to start planning. If you got if you got a podcast, you're thinking of starting a podcast in this greater Savannah area, make sure you put your link down in the bottom so we can reach out to you.
That's right.
We want all the podcasts to eat. So if you share the information you got, we share what we got, and the whole thing grows.
I definitely like what I Support Savannah got going on. They've been real big in pushing the events because, like I said, I'm from Savannah. I've been gone for over 10 years at one period of time, and I'm just coming back 2-3 years ago. And there's a lot of things that I've seen in other cities, different events and stuff that from my remembrance of Savannah, we wasn't doing stuff like that. So it's good to see that we are doing stuff like that, and I Support Savannah does do a great job at letting us know. Y'all start coming out to these events, man.
I was going for 9 years, so I just came back last year.
Oh man, so yeah. So if you got an event, you want us to talk about the event, y'all let us know.
Right. If you want us to show up to the event, now granted, provide us some tickets
or some time. You know what I mean?
Right. We'll interview you at your event.
Absolutely. We would definitely do that. We're big on pushing small businesses and Savannah native business as well. We're not hating on nobody else. If y'all want to come on and talk, leave your information. We'll reach out to you too. Like we said, this is a Savannah-based podcast. We love everybody. We want everybody to grow and eat. I mean, it's enough food at the table, man. The table's too big. You know what I mean? So, like I said, all right, y'all. This has been 2Pauls on the pod. I am Paul Thompson.
I'm Paul Stevens.
And we'll catch y'all next time.
That's right. There you go. That's how the cookie crumbles. I watched the